Hi everyone, I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you so much for joining us today, this August 6th, Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, to talk about U.S. immigration, our regular question, answer, or Q&A session to discuss educational issues related to the practice and the use of U.S. immigration laws. I know it could be very frustrating, very complicated, and changes day by day, so I'm here to answer your general questions, not case-specific stuff. You should talk with an immigration attorney in private about that, but just general kind of stuff. And we're live on TikTok. Immigration lawyer John is the handle. Also on Thursdays, I'm excited because we do Instagram, the JQK Law Firm Instagram page, which just passed 1,000 subscribers. I was really excited to get more people involved and interested in this kind of information. And the recording of this is on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, please press like, subscribe, and ring that bell to get the latest updates and information coming at us. We try to put out videos every single day, so there's always content coming out. Other people do it once a week, maybe twice a week. We do it every single day, and you'll get a variety of different things that could help you get into understanding of all this kind of stuff. Before I start too, I wanted to let you know that if you do have a fiance or marriage case and you're interested in getting information about that, the first thing, the number one thing that you should do is go to www.marriageimmigrationlaw.com/ebook and download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card ebook that breaks down the whole process so you have a better understanding of what's going on. It's free and it's the number one resource for you to wrap your head around with a good source that the information is correct of what and how things look, and then from there schedule a consultation with a lawyer. There's even a chapter on how to look for a lawyer and understand who's a good lawyer, who's a bad lawyer for the most part, and try to figure out to get that kind of advice as well, along with after you do get your green card. So these are people who already got their marriage green cards, or just green cards in general, things to think about when it comes to removal of conditions, things to think about for maintaining status and citizenship. On the last chapters, there's all sorts of information. So it's something really everyone should use. Just, out of the, 13 or 14 chapters in there, 2 of them are specific towards marriages. The rest applies to everyone. So I probably should just make a separate ebook, take out those 2 chapters. It's there, but I want to share that with you right before getting started. But let's do it right now. All right, once again, thanks for joining. We got some questions right off the bat on TikTok. Siraj asks, hey, I want to ask what specific things we can get help from Congress representatives. It's not any specific things. If you have an issue with any government agency, there's different things that you could contact your congressperson about. You should go to their website, and they have links there that specify which agencies they work with, or there may be other stuff. You might need a letter for something. It's just all over the place. So it's not a single question I could ask. It really depends on what you need from your congressperson, and then you can take it from there. Golkari asks, divorce during conditional green card, will it be a problem if I file I-751 exception 90 days before? Okay, that's a very interesting question. It's a very complex issue, and definitely I recommend first of all having a lawyer. Getting divorced when you have a removal of condition case pending or just general, you need a waiver of that, is a complex problem and always leads to issues, so I really do recommend having a lawyer. But the general requirement is if you get married within and get the green card within 2 years of the marriage, you get a conditional green card, 2-year green card. At around the 2-year mark of having that green card, you have to file another application form I-751, removal of conditions, where you and your spouse sign it, send it in with evidence and documents that you're in a real relationship. Well, sometimes the relationship doesn't work out. So in those kind of cases, you can request a waiver. When you are doing a waiver-based I-751, you don't have to follow that 90-day window of timing of when you can file that. You can file it before or after. One of the main things, though, is that you have a divorce certificate or be close to getting that divorce certificate, because they cannot approve that case unless your divorce is finalized. So that's one issue that pops up. And also, if your marriage didn't work out so soon, you have less documentation and evidence of your relationship. So you really need to dig down and gather a lot of proof that the marriage is real, and maybe have affidavits and personal statements and letters from other people. A lot of additional work for the officer to be able to believe that your relationship is real. And you may have an interview that you have to do, so in person, for them to talk with you. Not always, but most of the time. So there's a lot of preparation that needs to happen if you're going to do a waiver of the I-751 requirement. So be prepared for that. It's not a walk in the park. Put it that way. On Instagram, Navi asks, can you start a naturalization process out of the country, or do you have to be present here? Great question. I get this one a lot. It's a very important question. When you want to file for U.S. citizenship, you do not have to physically be in the U.S., or at least have had success with that. A requirement is that you be residing in a state in America in the last 3 months, but if you're out on a trip and you mail it in, I haven't seen any requirement that says you have to be here in the United States. When you want to file for what's called a re-entry permit, the regulations say you have to be in the United States. But for the green card renewal even, and for citizenship, I've never read a regulation that said you have to be in the US, and I've frequently seen people be outside and file it. So that's that. That's what, but you know, I would want to double check to give that kind of legal advice. I can't remember. I would like to double check and have a rule for you, I guess say it. But from my experience, I've never seen it be a problem. But you know, maybe schedule a consultation. I could do the full research on it just to double check. I have looked into. I've filed these kind of cases, but you always get worried. I'm like, what if they change the rules without me knowing? So I have to double check on that to give you 100%. But that's what I've seen. I'll go Curry. Okay, we already have to go Curry's question. Siraj says, thank you, you're welcome. Sumaya says, how long does a green card get approved after the process data is over in web? I don't understand what your question says, but I generally don't answer questions about timelines. Pluto says, you are clearly, blah, blah. You said some crazy stuff. Thank you so much, though. Thank you. The credit score guru says, I got the first form letter from my fiance visa. Now, how long does it take to get the second letter? It varies. Timelines vary in every case. Nasima says, is it still a requirement for 2 affidavits of support from friends and family members for marriage I-751? There's no requirement. This goes back to the removal of conditions I was talking about earlier for people that have newer marriages and newer green cards. There's no requirement that you provide an affidavit, but if you are going to provide it, first of all, it has to be a minimum of 2 letters. And secondly, you need to have original ink signatures on those. So those friends or family members, whoever they are that know about your relationship, that could attest to it in those affidavits, have to sign in with a pen and give you that original to mail to USCIS. In other kinds of applications, in the I-130, we send copies, but for those, you need ink signature. The minimum is 2 if you choose to add that. And, you know, a lot of cases, you know, why not add it, but not always. Sometimes, you know, there's so much evidence to the relationship, we don't need it. Or I have another case where a couple just don't want to get other people involved in their business. So they don't want to ask for that favor, deal with it, so we just don't submit it. It depends on how strong your case is and what other kind of evidence that you do have. Because if you have so much other evidence, this definitely is not going to add anything. But, you know, if you have the time, why not? Just do it properly, write it properly, all that kind of stuff. Nassim says, is it still a requirement? Oh, we just answered that right now. Sabit says, are citizenships delayed? In general, everything is slowed down because of COVID-19, so there are delays, and that's the fact. That's why people ask me how long does something take? You know, how am I going to know when COVID-19 is going to calm down and things will open up and get faster? So it's just not a realistic question to ask how long things are taking. The Credit Score says, you are always awesome. Thank you. Great work. Thank you, Credit Score Guru. Appreciate it. If you had the time, I'll appreciate it if you just type in my law firm's name, JQK Law Firm, on the right-hand side of Google in the video. This is right. My reviews will come up. If you did enjoy these questions, and please feel free to put a 5-star. You don't have to write an explanation. Just put a 5-star review. Those are always appreciated. It could help me out a lot. But I appreciate you watching, asking questions. Thank you so much. Yudi says, how long will it take for a removal condition for a 2-year green card? For some people, 7 months, 1 year, 2 year, maybe longer, maybe shorter. Akia says, how many affidavit supports can you provide? Affidavit. So first of all, affidavit support is a technical term that's used when you are going to file a financial affidavit of support. So the previous question, it might have been yourself who asked, that's not the proper terminology. An affidavit, a personal affidavit, what you're talking about, and if that's what you're talking about for the removal of conditions, how many can you provide? It's really however much you want to provide. It's up to you. There's no ceiling to it. I want to say hi on Instagram to Peel of Our Law, a good friend of ours, immigration lawyer from Florida. You got to get started on this live stuff. You have good charismatic videos. You definitely want to start doing it. Michelle says, would it be hard to get my brother-in-law a visitor visa if she is in middle age in Jordan? I mean, you can always give it a shot. It's not that you get her a visitor visa. She applies to the U.S. Embassy in Amman, Jordan, and if they give it to her, they do, or they don't. But it's not something that you get involved in. That's her business. User 39 says, I have submitted an N400, that's a citizenship application, but they didn't schedule the fingerprints yet. It's almost 4 months. Well, you got to check out what's been going on the last 4 months. In-person interactions with USCIS haven't closed. So you haven't got a fingerprint appointment because only recently started reopening fingerprints. So you just have to be patient and just stay on top of the news and stuff. But I'm glad you're here. You'll get the information you need from this program. Pilavar, love your stuff. Thank you, bro. You're welcome. Love your stuff. I haven't seen your stuff in a while. I used to post a lot more, but keep it up. Nassim says, thank you very much. You're welcome. Miyat says, do you know if they are starting to give appointments for interview, marriage, green card? Yeah, various offices across the country have started giving out marriage green card interviews. I haven't got any for my clients. I got some fingerprinting appointments, getting some work permit approvals, but I have not got any adjustment status interviews. Having said that, many of my colleagues have all across the country, so they're starting. It's just a very slow process because they're not doing that many of them, so you just have to be patient and wait your turn. On Instagram, B Backup says, when I become a citizen, should I get married in the USA or can get married out of my own country, which is better for my husband to apply for a green card? The location of the marriage doesn't make a difference at all. If your husband can't come to the United States, you're going to have to go in your home country, wherever else get married. Just one of the issues with getting married overseas is that the U.S. isn't like this, but if you get married in many countries, they want you to bring what's called a single certificate, proof that you are single, and not just a divorce certificate. Many countries will issue a document that says you're single. America does not, and that becomes a big headache because it's hard to find something like that. You may need to contact your local state or county to provide some document, but because the U.S. is federal, there's no federal document, the one thing throughout the country they can give you. So you need a research that would see the country dealing with and how the U.S. Embassy deals with it or other people in that country who've been married. You got to do research when marrying abroad because of that single certificate situation. But the location of your marriage doesn't matter as long as the marriage is valid in that jurisdiction and it's appropriate marriage. There's some, it's not a brother-sister marriage. I'm sure that's not, but there's some stuff like that could pop up that could be problematic. Okay, so Grant Joe says, if I'm dating a woman that let her visa expire and now we're wanting to get married, what avenue? Well, avenue is this. Go to www.marriageimmigrationlaw.com/ebook. It breaks down exactly what you need to do for free. The Ultimate Marriage Green Card ebook is there, and then schedule a consultation with my office once you have a better understanding of the process and you can make a better decision. But essentially, if your fiance that you're dating entered the U.S. lawfully and there's no other major issues, you make enough money, you can prove relationship, then you could file for a green card after marriage. But there's a lot of ifs and buts and little pieces of information I need to know. That's why I do recommend getting the ebook first, reading it together as a couple. It's a fun thing you could do, and getting a better understanding of what you need to show, and then from there schedule a consultation. And that way we can have a really good consultation because we're both on the same page. Grant Jones says, do you suggest, or what? I don't know your question. I don't know what you're talking about. Ivy says, I have a DACA, came in legal entry. Would my process of getting green card more easier when filing through? Well, if you have legal entry, it's easier if you're going to file based on like a family marriage case or something like that for you to adjust status. But other than that, there's going to be issues with various kinds of things, and it depends on when you got DACA. There's a lot going on. Oh, through marriage. Okay. So if you're getting married to a U.S. citizen, it could be easier. There's a lot of different factors. Generally, yeah, if you enter lawfully, that's one major less thing you have to worry about. But to say whether your case would be easier or not or something, without analyzing every aspect of your case and knowing you more, it's not a question I can answer. But as I said to the other person, download the Marriage Green Card ebook at www.marriageimmigrationlaw.com/ebook and get the information there of what I'm talking about with regards to lawful entry, unlawful presence, all this kind of stuff. And then schedule a consultation. We'll talk about it. But it's optimistic. You have some of the basics you need to be able to do this process properly. On Instagram, Ted asks, I filed in May for a labor certification green card. Any idea if the applications are taking it to move right now? Yeah, they're generally moving. They're moving forward a little slower, but they're moving. Michelle says, thank you. You're welcome. Akia says, what if a person gave out the I-864 to 4 people already? Can you still give out more? Well, there's a couple issues with that. The amount of money that the person who gave out the affidavit of support needs to be making increases every time because there's more people that they're supporting. But also, the more that they give out, there's more chance that the officer reviewing the case will be skeptical that sponsor, the financial sponsor for that green card, will have the ability to pay for it. Or they might be suspicious, why is this person giving out so many affidavits of support? It's a lot of responsibility out there. It's not to say that it won't work, but you just have to be careful. I would need to see who the person is. If they're making $500,000 a year, yeah, whoop-de-doo, it's all good. But if they're barely scraping by and their family size is big and they're not a relative, they're like some random person that you don't know personally, there's all sorts of issues they could have. This is not to dissuade you from using that person, but it's too complicated for me to be able to answer here. I would need to review the documents and review the relationships and just a lot more information about you and that person before I could give you the thumbs up or explain the risks involved in a more detailed fashion, but that's some general information. I hope that helped. Musi asked, after my interview, they didn't give me an answer. I checked my case online. It said, your case must be reviewed. Is that a problem? No, they frequently nowadays do not give an answer after the interview. You just have to wait. It's not that it is or is not a problem. It's just you got to wait. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know your case, and I don't know the officer and what happened. But it's like it is normal for that to happen in general. It's like that happening is not abnormal. RM says, I'm filing N400 and the address on my ID is different from my mailing and current address. Is that okay? Yeah, the ID is, not everyone updates their driver's license ID. You might as well update if you get a chance with the proper address, but that shouldn't really be a significant issue or an issue at all. But you never know the officer that you're dealing with. Sometimes they get a little bit annoying about it, but I've never seen it be a problem. They're more focused on just having your ID and you explain to them, you moved, but didn't pay for the extra, driver's license, a new one. But I would say just do it to be safe. One thing that's happening, it hasn't been a problem in the past, but as you see under this administration, there's all sorts of new things that are happening that we never knew were expected, and we're seeing it happen. So if it's possible, just change the address. Now, you don't need to have a proper ID when you're filing the F400. It's for an interview where they check your ID. And so at that time, that's many, many months, if not a year from now, just have it ready then and show that. So that just be safe to do that. Negi asks, Mr. Khosravi, thank you for your videos. You're welcome, Negi. My question is, how to renew a green card? What is the process? Can someone apply for naturalization at the same time of renewing your green card? Okay, so Negi, it depends on what kind of green card renewal you're talking about. Is this a removal of conditions of a 2-year green card, or is this a 10-year green card that's being renewed? So a lot of it depends on those and how it works. There's a lot of question detail you're asking me that goes too much into, it'll be looking like I'm giving case-specific advice, so I can't do that. But a basic green card renewal of a 10-year green card is Form I-90. Removal of conditions is Form I-751. If you read the instructions for each, it explains what they're for and what evidence you need to submit. And yes, you can file for citizenship while these cases are pending. You'll find different pieces of information say different kind of things. You said 10 years. So yeah, for a 10-year green card, you submit Form I-90 to renew it, and you can file for citizenship for N400 naturalization while your I-90 renewal is pending. That's not a problem. Just make sure to do the paperwork right and stuff. You don't want to make errors that could be problematic later. RM says, we answered that question. Rituba says, thanks for all your information. You're welcome. Thank you. Miad says, thank you as well. God bless you. Thank you. Divine asks, how long does it take with the fiance visa? I don't answer questions about timelines here, but last Friday I sat and recorded a 25-minute video breaking down all the marriage green card case estimates of time and how they work. Now, you got to watch that video in full to see what's going on. It's 25 minutes. It's a commitment. But I was standing here talking for longer than that and editing it. Just one thing is COVID-19. COVID-19, half the things are closed. Half the people don't want to come to work. Half the people are too sick to come to work. So when you ask about how long things take, it's like asking me, when is COVID-19 going to end? When are people going to go to malls again? When are people going to go to restaurants again? It's not a realistic question to ask because of that, but I get into that in the 25-minute video where I talk about before COVID-19 what the estimates were, but at the same time, even before COVID-19, one case might have taken 1 year, and one case might have taken 5 years. So there's no consistent answer to this, and I know it's the question everyone has because I get asked it every day all the time, like 10 times a day. But people just gotta understand, we're dealing with the bureaucracy. It's like in the US, when you go to get your driver's license renewed at the DMV, I always, ahead of time, book an appointment so that I don't have to wait in that line. Even though I book an appointment, I might be there for 4 or 5 hours. I'm like, what? I did an appointment. I just want to change my name on something. 4 or 5 hours, that's it. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's 5 hours. And so it's not something that could really be answered in that clean of fashion. Negin says, great, thank you so much. I appreciate your work. Thank you, Negin. I appreciate that. Thank you. If you did have the time, Negin, I'll put you on the spot. Go type in JQK Law Firm on Google and leave a nice review, a 5-star review. Much appreciated. It helps me out a lot. Nasim says, any tips for filing a marriage-based I-751 by myself? Now, Nasim, is it Nasim or Nasim? Nasim, are you doing a waiver I-751 or are you saying by yourself, meaning without a lawyer? Please clarify that, and by the time I get your question, I'll get into that. We have a lot of I-751 questions here, so I might just take all these I-751 discussions and make a long clip out of it too. So I answer your question. If it's about waivers, I can't get into that because it's too complicated. But if you mean without a lawyer, I'll give you 3 examples of important documents that'll really help you. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that. And Mr. Joe Jose says, what do you think is going to happen with DACA? I don't know. It's just a political thing. We'll see what happens. Nasim asked the question again. God, I love you says, I have 4 citizen adult children. I have been here in the U.S. a long time. Can I apply through one of my children? How? Well, the key is, did you enter the U.S. lawfully? If you didn't, it becomes more complicated and we have to find some other exception, or else it's going to be very hard for you to be able to apply for yourself in the green card unless an exception exists, because you'd have to leave the United States to do consular processing. However, if your only relatives that are U.S. citizens or green card holders are your children, you can't get a waiver. And I'm kind of adding a lot of terminology that's going to confuse you, but essentially, I need to review your case and talk with your children, review your background to be able to say how to do that. It's much more complicated than I can answer here. It's too case specific. I need to just see what's going on with you in private. So definitely schedule consultation. Ivy says, thank you, you're welcome. Sabi says, my mom takes food stamps. Can she get citizenship? That's going to be problematic because they haven't enforced this in the past. But depending on how your mom got her green card, there was an affidavit of support sponsorship there. An affidavit of support, whoever signed it, maybe you, said that you know, if your mom needs help financially, you're going to support them. And they're not going to ask the government for money. Also, if your mom is going to get food stamps, they ask her how much money she makes. And when they ask her how much money she makes, she has to include how much money you're making as part of her income. And if you're making money, or whoever the petitioner sponsor was making money and not revealing that in the request for food stamps from the government or kind of benefits, that could be a fraud issue. So it's not a public charge issue, it's a fraud and misrepresentation issue, which is very serious. Now, they haven't enforced that historically. Up until about 6 months ago, one of my colleagues found it. He was shocked that I explained, yeah, that's the situation. President Trump made the decision to go after people for this. So, you know, there's risks involved. I advise clients, you know, if you're going to file and this comes up, then they could, you know, try to get rid of you and send you out of the country. So it is a situation of potential fraud. Just be involved. And I don't know if that's the case in your case. There's so many pieces of information I need to know. Most of the time, they don't even pay attention to this. But if it's a risk that exists, because it's going to be considered getting a public benefit based on misrepresentation or false information, and that's a serious charge, and it's a big charge. So that's the general answer I could give to that. But schedule a consultation in private. Satwa says, hi, my VAWA is approved last September, but until today I didn't get a green card. How long will it take? I don't answer questions about timelines. They vary a lot. Semiri says, do you know anything for the process for EOIR 29 appeal for my husband's visa? I don't handle, EOIR is the Executive Office for Immigration Review. That's the immigration court system. I do not handle immigration court cases, so I don't advise on it either. I would suggest contacting an attorney that does deal with immigration court as soon as possible. Okay, Divine says, my fiance won the green card lottery and I apply for him for a fiance visa. Will that be an issue? No, they're two separate things. The green card lottery, depending on when they won it, like for this year, a lot of people are not going to get it. Maybe next year they will. So you might as well continue going the fiance visa process. But it depends. It won't be an issue, but to guide you what to do a strategy, I won't be able to do that here. But having both is not a problem. You just got to be careful. What did your fiance say in that diversity visa lottery application? So it could be a problem if in that application they didn't mention certain things about their lives and later on they accuse them of fraud or something like that. So that's just one thing that does pop up sometimes, just bad information, misinformation, that can be problematic. Ahmed says, wow, it's 5:25 today, flew by. A lot of good questions. Thank you, everybody. We got a good crew constantly. Thank you so much. Ahmed says, I have an LLC company in the USA. Can my company file for a green card petition for my company's employee? Your company can file for an employee, not for you, especially if you are more than a nominal owner of it, but like small percentage, and that's difficult. But if the company is operating, potentially you could file for a green card for an employee. We'll have to see. You really got to talk with a lawyer on that. There are too many things that you have to know. 007 says, Chef says, you always look so professional. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You want your lawyer to be professional. You don't want a slob. Nayar says, hi, I called the MBC like you told me. A supervisor is going to switch location Amman, Jerusalem. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, it works. So what happened there, a day or two ago, he contacted me and said they mistakenly sent him to the wrong embassy and stuff like that as case, and so he called and fixed it. It was faster and probably the right thing to do to call them because it's going to work. It's just I like doing things by email online, which takes longer, but there's a written record. But, you know, if it works, it works. Because, like, the officer may have told you that they'll switch, but then they'll forget. But then again, I send letters to them too, and they still do something they don't. Hopefully they do it. NBC is pretty good at doing this stuff, so I'll be honest. The NBC is pretty good. With USCIS, I'll have to make a phone call, be on hold for an hour tomorrow because I wrote them letters, called them multiple times, and they said they do something. It's kind of related to the NVC, and they still haven't done it. And just my client's case is for no reason 3 months taking longer than it needed to be. But I'm glad you called and fixed it. Yeah, that was a mistake on their part. In this, it was an immigrant visa, green card case where they have to do an embassy interview, and they just put the wrong embassy for some reason. That was kind of a weird situation. So be prepared for that, and yeah, deal with Jerusalem embassy, not too bad. Just have all your documents in order, and be prepared for that. Nayasser says, thanks, you're welcome. Layup says, I just want you to know it's almost time for my husband to interview, but it's travel ban. What's going to happen? You know, they won't issue the visa. That's what happened. I mean, it depends on what your case is. I don't know if the travel ban applies for you. I know you're a regular labor, but I can't remember the details of your case. But if a travel ban hit, they may just do an interview. They might cancel the interview or just say, we'll do it later. Okay, Nassim says marriage joint filing without a lawyer. So Nassim is filing for I-751 removal conditions. As we talked about, that's when your green card was issued within 2 years of your marriage. And to keep the green card, to make it a permanent 10-year green card, you have to file another form of I-751. So I want to give you advice. The 3 main documents that you need to have a lot more of this if possible, but the 3 ones USCIS loves to have is very important. 1, driver's licenses with the same address on it. So if you're a husband and wife or same-sex couple, whatever it is, a spouse, a couple, if you have your driver's license with the same address, you submit that as proof of joint address. That's very important. And along with that, a lease agreement or lease agreements or ownership and property together. But the driver's license is something they like to see that has the same address, or maybe IDs if you don't drive. Number 2, tax returns for the last 2 years. So from the time you got married, when you could start filing jointly tax returns, that you filed it. And filing as married filing jointly, not married filing separately. That's better for it to be jointly filed tax returns. But 2 is tax returns. And 3, joint bank accounts. It's very important. And bank accounts that you use, not that just that you opened up and sat there. Money goes in, money comes out. And they want to see last 2 years worth. So from the time you get the green card to the time of submitting, between 21 to 24 bank statements, literally. So you go back and you go to your bank account and you print out 24 months or 21 months, whenever the time is that you're filing, worth of bank statements. And that comes a lot of paper. If you have a credit card account together too, that's another set of 21 or 24 months of statements as you're going to be printing. But those are the 3 with extra stuff right there. The driver's license showing same address, and hopefully a lease agreement or a property ownership together. Secondly, what is it called? Bank statements and credit cards. I'm switching it up. Bank statements and credit cards for the last 24 months. And 3rd, tax returns. They're really, those 3, if they don't see it, they don't like it. Usually clients have 2 out of 3 at least, but really do that. But in addition to that, you can have joint insurance. And when you do stuff, try to go back. So if you have joint car insurance, you got to try to get 2 years worth of car insurance stubs that go with that. What else could you do? Health insurance together. If you have a pet together, get the pet ownership or veterinarian record that show your both ownership there. Family photos together, going different places. Evidence of your flights together and travel together. So if you got on a plane together, have both your names, send that out. So there's a lot more kind of things. Letters from family and friends, copies of birthdays and anniversary cards and gifts you give to each other. And there's just a lot of stuff. You just have to go into your relationship, dig down and see what's going on. And then, you could submit this to USCIS to help them leave your case. I hope that information helped. The main problem that I've seen when people file on their own is that it's sloppy. You want to make it very easy for USCIS to flip through it, find everything that they need, and feel confident that this case is okay and doesn't need more review. What I've seen is, like every case I've ever done myself, I-751, knock on wood, that hopefully it doesn't change in the future, I've never had an interview for my cases. But the only times I've been to interview are for people who have hired me just to come for the interview, and I rarely do that, mostly when I feel bad for the couple, usually a young couple or something like that, because they've already messed it up. And every time I go there and do that, the main reason I see they call for an interview is they just got a bunch of paper, shoved it in there, no organization, no cover letter, and the officer can't figure out what's going on here. And so they just say, okay, come in person and let's figure out what's going on this. And it's not a pleasant experience to have an I-751 interview. Many times they separate you in different rooms and talk with you. So it's really important to just be very organized and make it easy for the other officer to believe and know that your relationship is real. And that's really the number 1 tip I would have to give, along with having a ton of documentation. So we talked a lot today. We have a lot more questions. I'll do 2 more, if not. Today's Thursday, so we're going to be back on Mondays on Facebook, JK Law Firm, and on TikTok, Immigration Lawyer John. The recording of this, for those who missed it or want all the stuff I talked about, is going to be on YouTube, hopefully in a couple more days, maybe Monday even. But catch it then. But I guess I'll take 2 more questions. Let's see. Big Money asks, how long will it take? I don't ask questions about times. Big Money says, how long? Ask again. Danielle says, is there any rejection to visa holders to enter America due to COVID-19? Yes and no. That's too broad. It depends on what visa category you're at, what country you're at. So yes and no. I can't answer that. It's too personal. I have to know specifically your case to answer for you. Nami says, I appreciate your work. God bless. Thank you so much. A lot of people share the current right now, but we're about to go off. Funny Ethiopian asks, if you're unemployed right now, does it affect my citizenship? No, unemployment does not affect citizenship. Nasim says, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. You're welcome, Nasim. Thank you so much for a wonderful question. And thank you everyone today. It was such a wonderful day. Time flew by the half hour. When I have good questions that are new and not always about timelines, I'm sorry for those who ask about timelines, but I love talking about immigration law, so I'm happy to help share this information. I also have a podcast, the Immigration Lawyers Podcast. If you go to immigrationlawyers.com, podcast.com, you can catch that. I have tons of video on YouTube and not only on this channel, on my professional channel, that's for training other lawyers, but for the stuff that you guys will ask, if you just go to JQK Law Firm's YouTube page, you'll find all these clips of like, bam, talking about, I'm not one of those channels who talks 30 minutes and says, follow me, contact me, and then the information is like the 5 seconds is right there. I try to give 1 or 2 minute videos instead of 10-minute videos, so you just get down to it and get the questions that you need answered and get the guidance that you need, educational only, not intended for case-specific purposes. And God, I love you, says thank you. I'm learning lots, blessings. God bless you as well. Thank you all for joining. Y'all have a good weekend. Today, we end on Thursday, so I won't be here Friday, but have a great long weekend, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for joining and making it such a great experience. Before I go, I want to thank my team, Kathy, Dan, Lawrence, Erica, and Wilfredo. I appreciate all the help that you're doing with getting this program and show off the ground, and my lovely wife, Asal, and the kids and everybody. I love you all. God bless and be safe. Bye-bye.